So take your time here in this supine, released, and supported position to feel all the parts through the back of your body connect with the floor beneath you. Notice the pressure points at the back of the head, through the shoulders, through the back of the hips, and either through the back of the heels or the soles of the feet if the knees are bent. By all means, play around with the position of the arms. Either take the arms out wide or rest the hands either side of the hips, turning the palms up towards the ceiling. And I'm going to remind you of a particular hand gesture, a mudra, which works particularly well to amplify the energy. We want to amplify the positive energy with each deeper inhalation through our opening Shavasana today. So I'll invite you, if you feel comfortable to do so, to curl the index finger and the thumb towards one another. So it's almost like you're creating a circle in the hands. You can allow the other three fingers to remain soft, released, resting the backs of the hands on the floor. And tune your awareness into the breath. For now, just notice the natural rhythm of the breath. Feeling the cool air on the breath in, the warm air on the breath out. Then start to slow the breath down. Deepening the inhalation, lengthening the exhalation. Noticing your body's response to each deeper breath. That expansion and widening through the top third of the lungs. That steady release through the shoulders, through the weight of the arms. Remind yourself to unclench here, to relax the jaw, to rest the tongue in the well of the mouth, to soften the shoulders away from the ears. Feel the weight of your body ease a little more deeply into the earth beneath you. And become aware that through the breath, you're finding space above you, to the sides of you, and support beneath you. Continue to deepen the breath, becoming aware of filling the lungs completely, then emptying the lungs fully. It's that sense that with every exhalation, you're clearing your body of any negative energy, releasing any stagnant energy. Each full, deep breath in serves to nourish and energize. Each long, steady breath out to cleanse and relax. Every out breath, the letting go. Every in breath, charging your body, preparing us for the work of our practice today. So as I've directed you towards holding this Jnana Mudra, I want you to take a few moments just quietly observing the breath and feeling that energy build in the palms of the hands, feeling that amplification, that connection almost as though your whole body is expanding, widening to fully fill the space that surrounds you. Sense of quiet and calm. Inhaling deeply through the nose. Exhaling gently through the mouth. Another deep breath in through the nose. A slightly noisier breath out through the mouth. A further deep breath in through the nose. This time releasing that breath with an audible sigh. If it feels good for you, you can repeat that step. Then gradually start to nudge the breath back towards a natural, easy rhythm. Not focusing and concentrating on the breath, just on that sense of feeling the body being breathed. As you start to bring your awareness back to that central line of energy, you can take the finger and the thumb apart and just gently wiggle the fingers a moment. Wiggle the toes. If the legs remain extended, take a moment to draw the feet a little closer together. If the knees are bent, extend the legs along the mat so that we come to rest fully. Hands positioned either side of the hips, shoulder blades drawn together, pointing through toes, pointing through fingers, almost as though we're squeezing the shoulders down away from the ears. On an inhale, lift both arms overhead. Take a long stretch here, resting the backs of the hands an inch from the floor, pressing through the fingers, then exhaling to draw the fingertips in towards the palms, making fists, drawing the toes in towards the shins, flexing at the ankles. Press through the heels, create that little tension in the hands. Then inhale to open the fingers, point through the toes. Exhale to draw that tension back into the hands, into the feet. Inhale once more to open and lengthen. On the exhale, draw the knees in towards the chest, placing the hands to the shins or the backs of the thighs, gently rocking from one side to the other, allowing a little release here. As you return to center, replace both feet on the mat. We'll take a moment to ensure that the heels are hip width apart, the insides of the feet are parallel. Shoulder blades again drawn together, so we're resting on the flat bones here. It might suit the space at the back of the neck to nod the chin a little closer to the chest and relax the weight of your upper body into that space through the shoulder blades and the back of the head. On an exhale, draw the tummy button in and draw that right knee in towards the chest. Applying a little pressure, either using the hands on the shin or behind the thigh, to feel that space in the lower back release and soften. Direct the right knee out towards the right shoulder, widening that space at the back of the hips. Then return that knee back towards center. As you remove the hands from the shin, bring that right leg up and over to just park the ankle on the outside of the left thigh. We'll take the arms wide, turning the palms up towards the ceiling. Then on an out breath, gently roll that right knee over to your left side, turning your gaze along the length of the right arm. So we're starting a gentle release through the side of the right hip. There may be a little resistance through the side of the chest. So use that exhalation to ease the shoulder back to the floor, to release any tension. And just let gravity release that right knee all the way down to the left-hand side, opening out through the side of the buttock into the hip, drawing the knee closer to center if you feel any undue pressure on the lower back. As you exhale, engage the core. As you roll the knees back to center, draw the head back to center. Take a moment now to extend that left leg along the mat. So we've still got that right leg up and over, and we're just going to pop the foot now on the outside of the knee. The left foot, comes into flexion, and we lift both arms overhead. Bring the thumbs together in an interlock. Then on an out breath, squeeze the upper body to the left. You'll feel we're lifting, opening, stretching out that space at the right side of the rib cage into the underarm. Inhale to return to center. Then exhale to take that opening to the opposite side. Maybe feeling this a little lower, side of the rib cage into the side of the waist. Inhale again to return to center. Then separate the arms. Bring the hands one on top of the other to cradle the back of the head. So the elbows are wide, upper arms, lower arms resting on the floor. That slight lift at the back of the head is supporting the neck. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button in, lift that left foot from the floor, squeeze the knee in towards the chest, coming to a deeper stretch to the right side of the hip, the underside of the buttock. And we're fine-tuning to draw that knee a little closer to the chest, deepening that stretch under the buttock. I've only put your hands behind your head to stop you from pulling your legs towards you. Then as you exhale, release that left foot to the floor, unhook the right foot, take the hands from underneath the head, and we'll repeat that sequence on the left side. So we start by drawing the left knee in towards the chest, applying a little pressure here to roll that natural lift in the lower back to the floor, then redirecting that left knee out to the left shoulder. A little more space here at the back of the hip. As you bring that knee back to center, we'll again pop the ankle on the outside of the thigh. We'll take the arms wide. This time we're taking that left knee over to the right side, turning the gaze over the length of the left arm. And again, we're trying to keep that equal weight balanced through the body. So the back of the shoulders equally weighted, allowing gravity to draw that left knee closer to the floor. Comfortably turning the gaze along the length of the left arm. And just bringing the head a little closer to center if that gives you undue pressure on the neck. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button in. Roll the knees back towards center, bringing the head back to center. Lovely. Now again, we're going to slide that right foot along the mat, park the left foot to the outside of the right thigh, then bring the hands overhead, coming again to that interlock position, thumbs joined, drawing the right toe up towards the ceiling, exhaling to push the upper body to the right first, feeling that opening through the side of the rib cage into the underarm. Exhale to engage the core, inhale back to center. Exhale again, this time pushing the upper body to the left side, feeling that stretch a little higher and getting into that space at the side of the waist. Then drawing the body back towards center. Let's reposition the hands again, one on top of the other behind the head. Sliding that right knee up, then drawing that thigh in towards the chest. Gentle pressure here to deepen that release to the side of the hip, the underside of the buttock. Then replace that foot to the floor. We'll just keep the hands stacked behind the head for a moment. As we unhook the left foot, draw the soles of the feet together. Now allow gravity to widen the knees, finding a little space in the inner thighs, allowing again that natural lift in the lower back, and just letting gravity draw the thighs a little wider. Playing around if you wish to draw the heels closer to the groin to deepen the stretch, or indeed taking the heels further away to release any tension on the knees or the hip joints. Every out breath, easing into this open space. Every in breath, finding that point of center. Then on the next exhale, start to slide the thighs towards one another. Turn the soles of the feet back down to the floor. Release the hands from the back of the head and reposition either side of the hips. Palms again turned up to the ceiling, shoulder blades drawn together. Inhaling to press down into the soles of the feet, lifting the bottom from the floor. Trying to keep the knees tracking in line with the hips. With the next inhalation, pressing the shins forward, lifting the thighs, the belly, the chest. Really opening deeply through the front of the body. Remain soft through the upper body, engaged through the shins. Then on an out breath, take your time to slowly release vertebra by vertebra back towards the floor. Remember, let's not rush. Let's take our time, feeling each vertebra reconnect until we can fully soften and release the full weight at the back of the hips to the floor. Exhale to draw the tummy button in. Inhale to lift and lengthen through the right leg. So gently pointing and flexing through the toe, mobilizing the ankle, starting to find a little space into the calf muscle now. Push a little more keenly through the heel. As you press that heel towards the ceiling, draw the hips back towards the floor. Focus on that exhale to draw the tummy button in, then float the heel down to rest again an inch from the floor. So using the heel rather than the toe, we're going to draw 3 little circles so that we feel the top of the thigh into the ball and socket joint at the hip. We'll keep these circles quite small, nicely controlled, so there's not too much rocking and rolling from one hip to the other. Then rest that heel an inch from the floor. Inhale to lift both arms overhead, pointing through the toes. Exhaling now to bend the knee towards the chest, lifting the sternum towards the thigh, coming up into a tummy crunch here. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to crunch. Inhale to lengthen. On that crunch, rounding the lower back to the floor. And mindful that every time we lift the chest, we're leading with the sternum rather than the chin. So we avoid nodding the chin to the chest, making sure we don't put too much tension on the neck. Inhaling to lengthen, exhaling on the effort. One more full length. This time as you exhale and roll up, bring the hands to the back of the thigh. So we're always staying in this contracted position. Then gently roll down through the spine. Feel the back of the head rest. Press through that right heel. Bring the sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. We're trying to iron out that little bend in the knee, avoiding lifting the bottom from the floor, keeping the back of the hips equally weighted, then exhaling to guide the thigh a little closer to the chest. If this creates a big old knee bend straight away, then work a little harder on pressing through the heel, just so we can fine tune this deep stretch. Then on the out breath, bend that right knee in, then replace that foot to the floor. Let's have the hands again either side of the hips, palms turned up to the ceiling, lifting and lengthening this time through the left foot. So you want to make sure that the back of the hips remains square, that the shoulders feel equally weighted. Then we'll come to that inhaling to point, exhaling to flex, mobilizing the ankle, lengthening the back of the calf, pressing through the heel, drawing the back of the hips to the floor. Nice core engagement now to support lowering the heel to ease down to 1 inch from the mat. Keep that foot in flexion. We'll use the heel to draw those 3 circles. Remember, nicely controlled, working through both ranges of movement. Keeping the heel 1 inch from the floor. As you inhale to lift the arms overhead, point through the toe. As you exhale, come into the crunch on this side. We did quite a few on the other side, so we'll have to level it out. So remember, we use the out breath to lift. So the out breath is on the effort. The in breath is as we open and lengthen. On every exhalation, we're drawing the tummy button towards the spine. So we're switching on that natural core engagement. Let's do another 2 of these little crunches. Then as you come into center, take hold behind the thigh, stay in this static contraction, gently rolling down, resting the back of the head, pushing again through the left heel, bringing the sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. And again, you're fine tuning to press through the heel, getting rid of that little bend in the knee. On the out breath, drawing the thigh closer to the chest, pushing through the heel, equally weighted through the back of the hips. Then exhale to bend the left knee in towards the chest. Bend the right knee in. Both knees in towards the chest. Slide the hands between the bent knees and reach forward to take hold of either the toes, wrap the hands around the feet or the ankles, wherever you can reach. Try if you can to keep the back of the head rested on the floor. And we're going to try to keep the back of the legs straight. So avoid pushing the heels out. Let's push the heels straight up towards the ceiling. So that straight up position really focuses on the stretch through the back of the thighs. If you can feel that your shoulders are lifting to reach the toes, have a word with yourself to relax the shoulders back and down, to push a little more keenly through the heels. Then on the out breath, engage the core. We'll widen the feet, transferring the stretch to the inner thigh, pushing through the heels. And you'll notice that that completely changes the emphasis of where we feel the stretch. Ideally, keep hold of the toes, then roll your body weight all the way to the right, bringing the left foot on top of the right foot. Keep hold of the toes, draw the tummy button in and roll back to center. Then keep hold of the toes and roll all the way to the left. So we're coming all the way through center, rolling from right to left, using the core engagement to give us that nice inertia we need to push from one side to the other. Return to center. Just guide the feet towards one another. Then we'll let go of the toes, hug the knees in towards the chest. then replace the feet on the floor. So in a moment, we're going to roll to one side. If you have low blood pressure, I would suggest the left side. Otherwise, roll to the side that feels comfortable. Taking a moment there to blink the eyes open, get your breath back, and come back to a seated position. Good work. Denise is shaking her head. Oh my goodness, what have you done to us? And we've all done the same. I've done that as well. We're all like fixing our leggings and all the clothing's getting all destroyed. And thank goodness there's nobody watching us. Well, there is really, because we filmed it. You're all right. It's just me that blooming has to worry. Bring the soles of the feet together. So come into that Baddha Konasana once more. So widening the knees. There's a tendency, isn't there, when we're seated in this position to kind of lean forward and grab hold of the feet. So take a moment to lift out the sit bones, roll the shoulders back and down, and let gravity soften the knees a little wider. It's one of those postures, some people love it, some people hate it. It can be quite, usually one knee higher than the other. So just notice the differences in your body without any judgment. Inhale to lift out of the sit bones. Then as you exhale, be mindful that we're pressing forward from the sternum rather than the chin, and gently draw the chest down towards the feet. If you can get your chest on the floor, you're just showing off. Yeah, don't worry, I'm a far way off from that. I'd be joining the circus if I could do that, mate. Exhale, draw the tummy button in. Inhale, lift and come back to center. Remember to realign, setting the back of the head in line with the back of the tailbone. We'll take the left leg out, but we'll keep a little gap behind that left knee. So when we're releasing the leg to the floor, we're not fully locking it out, switching that left toe on up to the ceiling, bringing the sole of the right foot to rest on the inner thigh. And again, we have to trust our own body, our own anatomy, whether the knee rolls out comfortably or whether it's somewhere up here. That's what you can do. That's kind of where we are. So lift again, and then I always find in this posture I have a tendency to lean to one side. So try and bring the shoulders directly above the hips. It's much more active. You'll feel that you're having to work hard to stabilize. Let's position the right hand a little further out, just in line with the hip. We don't want it forward, we don't want it back, just in line with the hip. Pressing that palm to the floor, then lifting to look all the way up to the middle fingers of the left hand. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in, bring that right elbow in towards the waist, and we'll ease over the middle of the body, turning the gaze up to that middle finger of the left hand. And you might notice that we've just intensified the stretch to the inside of the left thigh. Inhale to lift and come back to center. We're going to park this hand now on top of the knee. Now, when we come across the body like this, there's a tendency to pull the knee towards us. So let's instead apply gentle pressure so that we're not lifting the knee up. We'll take the right hand a little further behind the hip so it starts that natural opening through the side of the chest and the shoulder. Keep that left toe pointing up to the ceiling. Inhale to lift out the sit bones. Then follow the rib cage to come into a twist, turning your gaze towards the back of the room. On an out breath, release and bring the shoulders to face forward. Lovely. Switch that leg over. So we're going to take the right leg out, bring the left foot in. Can you all hear the cows behind me mooing away? Oh, good, it doesn't translate. They're obviously having their lunch or something because they're really noisy. Brr, brr. I'm like, be quiet, girls. So toes pointing up towards the ceiling. Let's again have that left hand this time aligned with the hip. Bringing the right hand up to turn the gaze to the middle finger. Then easing into this extension through the side of the waist. So we give ourselves plenty of space, elbow in towards the waist. Pressing through the fingertips. opening out into the side of the body, into the inner thigh. Inhaling again to lift back to center, bringing that hand onto the knee, a little pressure to keep it down. Repositioning the left hand behind the hip, lifting again out of the sit bones, then coming into the twist on this side. Every out breath, just taking that twist a little deeper. Every in-breath, lifting and lengthening out of the sit bones. On the next out breath, release the tension. Bring your gaze back to the front of the room. We'll widen both legs. But again, we're just going to keep that little whisper of breath under the knees. Both toes pointing up towards the ceiling, lifting and lengthening. Positioning the hands at a space in front of you, enough where you can lean forward without curving the spine. Inhale to lift, lengthen the spine, then exhale to fold the elbows towards the floor. So that gives you better support and a more diagonal line to ease into this space in the inner thighs. I always notice that one leg is a little tighter than the other. There's usually one leg that kind of goes, yeah, that's far enough, thanks very much. So that's the one that wins. Keep those shoulder blades drawn together. Exhale to draw the tummy button in. Then walk the hands back again towards the center. Perfect. Slide the feet together now. I'm going to turn side on so that you can see the shape. We're coming into Dandasana pose. So Dandasana pose is again one of those where it's very tempting to kind of lean back or roll the shoulders. So we need to be quite disciplined to lift right up out of the sit bones, almost as though we're resting the back of the head, the back of the hips against a wall, and we're creating a nice long line. Toes pointing up towards the ceiling, extending the fingertips. We'll start at chest height. So we're going to focus on the breath here. Every inhale, lifting and lengthening out the sit bones. Every exhale, drawing the tummy button in. Over time, we'll start to feel the thighs become warm. You might even get a sense that there's little jelly beans setting off in your legs. So send the breath all the way down to the thighs. And in order to activate those muscles on top of the thigh, you might want to visualize lifting the knees towards the hip bones. It contracts that space. We're starting to move into that inner Agni now, that fire in the belly. On the next inhale, lift the arms overhead. So we've taken the hands much further away from that midline. The heart's having to work harder to keep pumping blood to the end of the fingertips. And all the while, we've got this static contraction in the thighs. Exhale, draw the tummy button in, widen the arms, turn the palms up towards the ceiling. Keep this lovely warmth in the thighs, in the belly. Then as you exhale, soften the hands down either side of the hips, relax the shoulders back. And this isn't a yoga thing, but give your legs a wiggle. You wouldn't normally get that in a yoga class, but after all that heat, I think we've deserved it. We're going to walk the feet in, and it's important that we don't take the weight back. So really press down into the palms, then lift the bottom from the floor, press the shins forward, create a straight line if you can through the shoulder, the hip, all the way to the knee. If you run out of space in the knees, you can walk the heels a little further forward so that we find a nice 90-degree angle all the way down through the body. Then as you exhale, release and bring the sit bones to the floor. Good work. It's not everyone that likes that posture. There's a lot of strength there, so well done. We'll come on to the all fours the opposite way. So we've just done a kind of upside down table. We're going to come into a full table position. So I always advocate wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, wide through the collarbones. And we'll start with the good habit of drawing the tummy button in, so that we're engaged in the core. Turn both toes under. Exhale, draw the tummy button in, rolling up through the spine, and just getting a little bit of release into the lower back, nodding the chin to the chest. Then keeping the elbows soft as you roll all the way through that shape in the spine, lifting the chest forward. So Sally, can you see the contrast? I'm conscious that I'm next to a black couch and I've got a black t-shirt on. Rolling up on the exhale. Then we're rolling down on the inhale, leading the sternum forward. So we're getting that full natural range of movement in the spine. We'll take it up one more time. It's a nice release for lower back pain. Then as we return to an all fours position, we're going to take the right foot back, turn the toe under and push through the heel. So we're pushing through the heel to extend that stretch to the back of the calf, to open out a little into the back of the heel, into the ankle. You don't want to feel it in the knee, so keep that knee soft. Bring that knee back in, take the opposite foot back, and we'll repeat on the other side. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but oftentimes this tension that we hold in the calf can really affect our emotional balance. So it's a nice one to just push away all that tension, release and let it go. Then we'll bring those knees back to center. I'm going to take the knees wider now. So rolling the knees out, and it's almost as though we're touching the toes together, which creates a diamond shape between the thighs. So that we're not holding ourselves up on our wrists, it'll be more comfortable to fold the elbows and come down onto the forearms. And then on an out breath, sink the sit bones back towards the heels. So you're lowering, sinking into this space in the inner thigh. You can always push the elbows further away until you can get your forehead to rest on the floor. The further you reach with the fingertips, the more extension you'll achieve through the side of the waist, the rib cage. And every out breath, we're just deepening that space in the inner thighs. Exhaling now to draw the tummy button in, sliding and coming back to a more traditional all fours position, knees coming in once more. Perfect. We'll take the hands a little further forward. So when we push back into a straight child's pose now, we can lift the fingers from the mat, press the wrists to the floor, and open that space to the underside of the shoulder blades. So kind of widening through that space in the middle back. Lower down again onto the elbows, lift the chest forward and slide the thighs, the belly, the chest to the floor. Make sure the elbows are either side of the chest, the palms either side of the head. As we draw the shoulder blades together, engage the core, press the thighs to the mat, then inhale to lift the chest forward. On an exhale, turn and look over one shoulder. On an inhale, look ahead. On the next exhale, over the other shoulder. Then inhale again to look ahead. Lower all the way down. Let the forehead rest to the floor. Bring the palms either side of the chest. So we're lifting the elbows up, rolling the elbows in towards the rib cage, keeping those thighs and hips anchored to the floor, pressing into the palms, inhaling to lift the chest. You can always repeat that lower sphinx pose if that is more comfortable for you. Then exhale to push back and repeat that extended child's pose position. Weighting the sit bones to the heels, pressing the palms to the mat. Enjoying that long stretch through the spine, through the sides of the rib cage. Lift back up again into your all fours position. I'm going to do a little bit of legging adjustment again. I'd like to say that I've lost weight, but I know I haven't. Turn both toes under. So we're going to come up into the downward facing dog sequence now. And I'm going to suggest to you that we start with the knees bent rather than going for the straight leg solution. What I would remind you is with the knees bent comes its own challenges. It's usually quite hard to get the heels to the floor. So try to remain soft through the elbows, through the upper body. Keep the core engaged. Push the sit bones back towards the heels. And then it's effectively flipping the heels to the floor, but keeping the knees bent. It sometimes helps to walk the feet a little closer so you can exaggerate that knee bend. And again, we want to have that feeling of pushing the weight away from the wrists, lifting the tailbone, almost like downhill skiing, I think, when I'm in this position. Knees are fully bent. Then rather than holding the breath, mindfully inhale to lengthen through the spine, then exhale to bring the shins back to the floor. Let yourself sit back towards the heels, and let's take the tension out of the wrists by bringing the wrists either side of the ankles, rotating little circles to ease that tension. If the head reaches the floor, let it go. We'll come back up again into an all fours position. And I'm going to take you back up into the downward facing dog posture. This time we're going to take that bend out of the knees. We're going to start to work towards straightening the legs. Those of you who are very flexible in the hamstrings might find it very easy to go straight into. But for the rest of us mere mortals, we're going to bend one knee at a time, just so that we can start getting the backs of the legs used to it. I'm going to add in another trick today. We have done this before. I'm going to remind you about that trick of working with the breath to lift the pelvic floor as we come up into the downward facing dog. So in an all fours position, it's quite an easy way to feel. If you focus on your next exhale, doing that little pelvic lift, that squeeze of drawing the pelvic floor up towards the tummy button. Then as you inhale, releasing and letting it relax. I always think that pelvic floor work works best if you can visualize pulling in from the left sit bone to the right sit bone. So you're kind of closing the space in center rather than going from front to back. And then at the last minute, pulling the rectum in. So we're staying on nice neutral spine position. It's all in the breath. So exhaling to do that pelvic lift, squeezing everything in and up. Then inhaling to release. Just give me a quick thumbs up if we've understood that. Does that kind of make sense? Mostly thumbs up. Sally, I can't see you. Your sun keeps coming and going. It keeps going dark where you are. Are you happy that you're... No. Okay. Let me think of another way. Okay, if we just come for a moment back into this hero position. So I think the last time we did this work, when we were thinking about lifting the pelvic floor up, we kind of imagined that we were in a lift. I think I've done that exercise with you before. So it's that sense of, if you were to step into a lift, when the lift doors close, that's when we kind of have that support in the pelvic floor. So obviously we want to work with what's natural to the body. So if you remember, one of the ways of feeling that natural action happen is if you have a quick cough. So if you just, everyone's like clearing the throat now. So when you do that quick cough, you might notice that the muscles down below naturally become tighter. They naturally kind of pull up and take control. So all we're doing is we're kind of extending the idea of a cough, which is a quick out breath, and we're working with the breath to have a little more control. So as you exhale, our natural action when we exhale is to draw the tummy button in. What we're doing now is we're also lifting the pelvic floor, lifting the rectum as well. So everything feels as though it's been pulled in towards the tummy button. Then as you inhale, you can let everything relax and release. Now, bizarrely, it counterintuitively feels like when you inhale, you hold it tight, and when you exhale, you let it go. But as we've just demonstrated, the natural reaction is starting on the exhale, so we work with what's already there in nature. So exhaling to do that pelvic floor lifting up, inhaling to releasing, and let it go. It's very funny because whenever we do pelvic floor exercises, everyone goes really serious because we all have to really concentrate when we're doing it. And I've had one or two ladies over the years that I've done private lessons with who've really struggled with the pelvic floor stuff. And they say that when they do it, their eyebrows go up because they know, they're like, I'm really aware when I'm doing it because my eyebrows go up and I'm going, oh, that's my floor. Oh, that's me letting it go. So if that helps you psychologically, stick your eyebrows up into your hairline, that'll work. So it's kind of easier to do in this hero position because we can feel gravity in a way. We're having to work against gravity to do the lift. When we come back into the all fours position, it's a little more subtle. So you have to have the confidence that you're doing it right because we're not hanging everything down anymore. We're halfway. So exhaling again, drawing everything in and up, then inhaling and letting go. So turn the toes under. We're going to work up into the downward facing dog. We'll worry about resetting that pelvic floor lifting when we're in position. So I always use the exhale to engage, to prepare, then press the sit bones back, then inhale to lift up. I can't get my heels down on the first go on a down dog ever. So I will take a few moments to just bend one knee in and push the opposite heel to the floor. So when you're doing this pumping sensation from one foot to the other, start to tune into the natural rhythm of your breath. So let's say that we're going to inhale and lift the tailbone. On the exhale, we're pressing the heels down. We're lifting that pelvic floor up. Inhaling, lifting the tailbone, lengthening through the spine. Exhaling, re-engaging, pressing the heels to the floor. One more time to lengthen and lift away from the wrists. Exhaling to engage the core. Inhaling, realigning. This time on the exhale, lowering down and resting into a child's pose position. As we've been up for quite some time, either bringing the wrists either side of the ankles or positioning the hands one on top of the other and allowing the forehead to rest here. Beautiful. So we can have a little look and see rest again before we move on to the next sequence. Did that make a little more sense when we kind of took our time to work up to it? Yeah, a bit happier with that now. Brilliant. So what I would say is that action that we were doing, we've done this before and we've called it a root lock or a Muladhara Bandha. Those root locks can be used in a lot of the postures. I just personally think it's always quite easy to teach it in a down dog because your bottom's up in the air and you can feel it because it's kind of going against gravity. But it's one of those that get into the habit of, we're very comfortable now with that exhale, draw the tummy button in. So every time we exhale now, why don't we think about just lifting the pelvic floor? It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So I'm going to show you the next posture we're going to do. Again, it's part of the downward facing dog. For those of you who might not have done it before, it looks harder than it is, so don't let that put you off. It's actually a very easy posture to do, but it's easier if I demonstrate it to you so that you're not upside down and trying to look and see what's going on. So we'll start as we always do in the all fours position. My preference is to take the hands a little further forward. I personally find that it helps me achieve that upside down V position a little better. So we'll push up into the down dog. We've done the work now to try and take the slack out of the back of the thighs where we would normally feel really tight. And we're going to take the right hand to the left ankle and twist. Then we're going to come to the other side, opposite hand to opposite ankle, doing this twist. Then replace the hands to the floor, lower, and then give yourself a moment in child's pose. Denise, your face says it all. Bet you'll be an absolute superstar doing it as well. Honestly, it looks harder than it is. So find your way into a comfortable downward facing dog position. And remember, I say comfortable, the key is push the weight back, don't be hanging on those wrists. And then you're going to take whatever wrist you feel comfortable with. You might feel stronger on one. That's looking perfect, Gloria. Bring the hand to the outside of the ankle. Lovely, Sue. Then replace that hand to the floor and bring the opposite hand to the opposite ankle. See, I told you, Denise. What was all that about? Yay! She's dead chuffed with herself now. Nice. Hazel, you're making it look really easy. Oh, screen just went black there. You've got a lovely rotation going on at the side of the rib cage as well, which is quite hard to do. So kudos for that. Perfect. Then whenever you feel ready, come back down, rest those shoulders. It can be quite hard work on the shoulders. Good work. So there you go. You've done a revolved downward facing dog. You wouldn't have believed me if I'd said that at the beginning of the session, that that's what you were going to get up to today, would you? So I'm just going to, for a moment, bring you back up to a seated position. Gosh, I've got so many junk calls. You know when you don't know the number. So come back up just to whatever seated position is right for you. I'm mindful that doing a lot of this space where we're holding ourselves up and down facing dog can put a little bit of pressure in the shoulders. So squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears, then fully shrug to let them go. Squeeze the shoulders up, a little more control as we roll the shoulders back and down. So we're making little circles with the shoulders. And let's go ahead and bring the shoulders forward. So we're going through both ranges of movement, nice and wide through the back of the shoulder blades, then opening through the chest. Beautiful. Now, when we take the shoulders back and down this time, bring the hands to an interlock behind the lower back. Engage the core, then slide the hands away from the lower back. So we're opening more deeply into the chest. And it's kind of like the opposite action to being in the downward facing dog. Then release the hands, separate. One more time, easing the shoulders up towards the ears. Then that release, that shrug to let it go. Lovely. Nod the chin towards the chest. Just let the weight of the head create a little more release through the back of the neck. Exhale, draw the tummy button in. Inhale, lift back to center. Then turn your gaze over one shoulder. Lower the chin towards the collarbone. Trace the line of that collarbone from one shoulder to the opposite. Trace the line back to center. Then engage the core. Lift the head again and realign with the back of the tailbone. Perfect. I think you've earned the right to have a little rest now. Yay! So my plan today is to take you on a guided meditation to a sunny beach. Wouldn't that be nice? Because I think we're all ready for a little bit of travel. So I don't often do these ones where I kind of paint a picture of where we're going. So we'll give it a go and you can let me know what you think. But as I say, all it takes is a little bit of imagination and we're there. We'll enjoy it. So find your way back to a comfortable position. If you need to pull on some socks, a fleece, a blanket, then do whatever you need to do. So many pages turned down in this book now. So it may be that when you come back to your Shavasana position, that you've perhaps found and created a little more space for yourself in the lower back. So you might feel that you're able to extend the legs, to relax the weight of the thighs, and again to find the weight of the hands and the arms rested comfortably by your side. There's no hard and fast rules. There's just an intention, feeling of being open, receptive, and taking your time again to tune into the breath. Slowing the breath down again, deepening the inhalation, lengthening the exhalation. Remembering there's no need to cut corners. Take your time to come to the end of each full breath. Think of every out-breath as a release, a letting go. Now simply allow the body to be breathed. As you turn your awareness to the space between your eyebrows, visualize this space here, the third eye, almost as though it's a television screen, a viewing platform for you to create your own little adventure, your own picture, while I take you on a journey today. So at this space between your eyebrows, imagine that there is a door in front of you. Take a good look at this door. Is it a big door? A small door? Is it modern, traditional? Visualize that welcoming door in front of you. Notice the handle on the door. As you reach forward to take hold of the handle, notice how easily it turns. Now set an intention to walk through that door. As you pass over the threshold onto the other side, notice that you're outside and you're standing on a beach. As you look up, you can see the sun in the sky, a clear blue sky. You might be able to visualize this. You might just know it. Or perhaps you can feel the sun warm on your skin. Just take note of how you feel in this moment. Now start to notice that there's a breeze. Feel the wind tickling your skin. Become aware of the sensation of sand under your feet. Feel it soft and warm, heated by the sun. and start to walk across the sand. Now become aware of the birds in the sky. Perhaps you can see them. Perhaps you can hear them calling to one another. Perhaps you just know that they're there flying in the sky high above you. Notice now the sound of the waves. Can you hear the waves moving toward you, then moving away from you back into the sea? Can you hear the sounds of the waves crashing, then pulling back towards the sea? Give yourself a moment to watch the waves moving towards you, moving away, and noticing the white froth on the top of each wave. Watch as the waves become bigger, then see or feel or hear them crashing down onto the seashore. As you look more closely along the seashore, notice a shell on the ground. It's a beautiful colour, shining in the sun. Imagine running your fingers over the seashell. Bend down to pick it up and notice how it feels. Is it warm in the sun? Or does it feel cold and damp here at the seashore? Hold that seashell to your ear. And if you tune in, perhaps you can hear the sounds of the sea. The sounds of you sea, closer and louder, here in your hand. Now take the shell away from your ear and take a moment to look up at the sky. Again, you can see those birds flying. Imagine them flying together through the wind, flying wherever they want to go. And imagine for a moment that you can be one of those birds, flying. How does that make you feel? Now bring your awareness back to being in your physical body. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, the wind in your hair. Feeling of joy, full of sunshine. Breathe in that salty sea air. Breathe out any tension. Spend a few moments here, soaking up the sights, the sounds, the smells of the beach. Now have a sense of knowing the time has come for you to leave this beach, to make your way back towards that door. And as you reach that door, know that you have the freedom to return here anytime you wish. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. As you walk through that door, gently closing the door behind you, feel yourself returned to your physical body, to your space within this room. And slowly begin to reawaken here. Returning sensation by wiggling fingers, wiggling toes, wiggle the jaw a little, wiggle the nose. You may need to draw the feet a little closer together. You may wish to take a long stretch through the body. It might feel more comfortable to hug the knees to the chest. And again, perhaps gently rock from one side to the other, reawakening the back of the head, releasing the back of the hips. Then in your own time, rolling to the side that feels most welcome. Pausing there to blink the eyes open. Then returning once more to a comfortable seated position. Oh, I didn't think I was going to get you back there from the beach. A few comfortable faces. Bring your hands to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Sending you lots of love.
I'm off back to the beach. It was nice there.
You can go